Hello class, in this video I'm going to do exercise 4.24. For this exercise you have to figure out whether or not this argument is valid. What you're supposed to do is use the truth table method. That means you have to first put all of the premises into the truth table and compute the truth functions for each of them. Then lastly you have the conclusion in your truth table and compute the truth function for it. Then finally you have to compare and see whether or not on any row in which all the premises are true the conclusion is also true. That will then tell you whether or not the argument is tautologically valid. I got us started here by already putting a bunch of this information into the truth table. This one has 5 atomic sentences, so there was just an immense number of rows. In my A column, I first have 16 T's, and then I have 16 F's, so I have a 32-row truth function here. This took me a lot of time. Be thankful that you only have to do exercise 4.23 with 4 atomic sentences. I put in my 3 premises here. Notice what I did was I put each of them as an independent sentence. Don't conjoin them all into one big premise. First you put 3 of your individual premises, then I put my conclusion here last. And what I need to now do is compute the truth function for this conclusion. We can just do this quickly so you see how it goes. Not A, I just need to reverse the values of A here. This is going to maybe take a little bit of time. There's 16 F's, and now I'm going to have the 16 T's. Oh, I'm not done yet. Here we go. Okay, now let's go back to the top. Now that I have the not A computed, I need to compute my first disjunction. Remember, the book interprets the first disjunction in this large disjunction as the innermost one, and then this one that's grayed in, that's going to be my main connective. But again, that's just a convention. It really doesn't matter how we do it. So is this going to be true or false? Well, D is going to be true on the first couple, so I'm going to do true, true because of the D. Now it's false here. Now again, my D is going to be true for a couple. Now we have falses. Now D is going to be true. All right, so I'll slowly work through this. Oh, I think I missed one. Oops, now it's jumbling all over. Here's my missing one. That's true, false, false, true, true. Now we're at the bottom, so now these are all T's. I don't even have to look at D. I'm just using the fact that not A is true on all of these rows. Okay. All right, we're done with that. Only one last one to do. So now I need to compute this main disjunction. Notice this is true here on the first couple rows, so I don't even have to look at E. Now when this is false, since E is true there, I'm going to get a T. Now here they're both false, so finally an F. Now true, true. Here we have a pattern going true and then false, true, 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 false. You can see how this goes. Now once we get to the bottom, this is going to be easy. So all these are all going to be T. Okay, so how are we supposed to evaluate this argument then? The truth table is done. You can just check this to make sure we didn't make any mistakes. Okay, we got all check marks. How do we evaluate it? We have to check and find out whether or not there's a row on which all the premises are true and the conclusion is false. What that means is you can simplify your task by disregarding certain things. For example, look at the bottom half of this truth table. This big disjunction, it's easy to make disjunctions true. So this truth function is going to be true on the whole bottom half of this table. So none of those can be counterexamples. A counterexample row is when the premises are all true and the conclusion false. If my conclusion is true in all these rows, I can just disregard that whole half of the truth table. So I'm going to just jump up to the top half where this is possibly false. Since this is false on very few rows, it's probably easiest just to check those. Alternatively, we could start with the premises and look, okay, on row 1, they're all true, so I better make sure my conclusion is true there. Ah, indeed it is. On row 2, let's see if these are all true. Ah, here's a falsity, so I don't even have to look at this. I can just forget about the conclusion there because the premises aren't even all true, so that row is irrelevant. Ditto row 3 and 4. So now I'm down to row 5. Here I have a place where they're all true, and indeed my conclusion is also true. So row 6, I can disregard this. There's a false. Row 7, now here they're all true here, but indeed my conclusion is true too. So there's a falsity there. Here they're all true and true, but these are both true and true. Next, here's a couple of falsehoods, so those rows are irrelevant. Look, this is false on all these rows, so those are irrelevant. And indeed, now we're to the bottom half of the table where my conclusion is always true. So there is no counterexample row. I can just fill in this assessment. I can say the last sentence is a tautological consequence of the others. Wonderful. Now, let's see if I'm right. Ah, great. So we did this exercise properly. So now you can save this file and submit it to GradeGrinder. And Grade Grinder will double check it for you too. Notice it's worth sending it to Grade Grinder because maybe you typed in one of these sentences incorrectly. These large exercises are so complicated. There's all sorts of ways to make errors that are not going to show up with a red check mark in Bool, so you have to make sure to send it to Grade Grinder too. Okay, so that's how we would do exercise 4.24 in the textbook. Thanks.